Okay, so this will be the second video basically on creating the car design. So one thing I did here was I put the picture of the back of the car and I scaled it up like we did earlier and put it on the front there. So when I get to the, I noticed on mine it just really wasn't working very good to try to draw the back of it without the back of the car. Okay, so I've added that to it. Then when you go in there to actually draw on like this sketch here that I did, which is looks like sketch 11. So if I'll show you what happens when I do that. I still can't see that image, right? So I go around to the back side, and well then the front car is in there. But when you got those two in a row, it gets a little bit rough to see it. So you've got to do a couple things to fix it. One thing is, let me finish that sketch. Where is that one at there? So it looks like this is sketch 3 for the front. What you can do is you basically go in to find the sketch, and it's probably one of the first ones, and then to expand it, that's where the image is at, okay? And then you have to hide the visibility on that. So then you can look right through it. And you can always turn it back on if you need to reuse it, so it's just hidden. So, but it's kind of you got to expand sketch 3 to see it, okay? And then you can actually, you still can't see it because of this loft is in the way. But the way to take care of the lofting it's in the way, you can. There's a couple things you could do. One thing you can do is you can suppress it. I don't know if I'd recommend that. It's a little trick. It doesn't really hurt anything, but it can mess up future sketches a little bit until you unsuppress it. Probably the best thing to do is go over to the View tab and individual style, just turn it to wireframe. And then it's really kind of halfway hidden, okay? And you can kind of see everything a lot better. You can still see some of it, but at least you can see the back of that image pretty well. Okay, so just remember you don't always have to be in shaded. Okay, and then while we're on that part of it, the visual style that we typically use is shaded with edges. Okay, and that's going to show you all these lines. Now, don't get too disheartened on seeing all those lines, because sometimes they aren't in there. So if your sketch, for instance, this one here, if you have a sharp edge like this, yeah, if you 3D print that, there is definitely a line there. But on the other note, like this one up here, I did a little fillet between these two lines. Well, Inventor is going to show you all those edges because I've got shaded with edges picked, but there's really no edge there. It's a perfectly smooth tangent fillet. So that's the same thing as if you were in that sketch and you told it that I wanted these two arcs to be tangent to each other. It would blend them, you know, and that's a bad example right there. But like down here, this one, I could probably blend this one with this one, and a lot of times when you make them tangent, though, it'll knock them way out of whack. For instance, let me show you what I mean by that. So if I tell it there's the tangent constraint. Okay, if I pick that, and I want to pick. I'm not on the right plane, but to get on the right plane, I'm going to basically go to escape here, right click, and go to slice graphics. Okay, so it's the one in front of that evidently that I'm on. Where did it go? That's the different sketch altogether. Somehow there's a weird sketch there. I don't know if it's that one or what, but it must be 11. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so when you do tangent, that also gets rid of those sharp edges. But if you pick like tangent this one to this one, unless they're really close, it's probably going to blow them out of whack. See how it didn't really completely screw it up, but it's down over here a little farther than I wanted. Still not too bad, but sometimes when you do that, it'll really go crazy. So the safer way to do that is put a fillet in it. You know, and like that's a 3-inch fillet. It's pretty big. Remember, this is the size of a car, so you can't use the default 1/8 of an inch or you won't even see it. Okay, so you want a real size fillet on it. Some other things that make a big difference. So if you look at this loft on this thing of mine, it's really going real big bulge here in the hood, and that's really not there. If I go to let's see here, I'll have to look at that plane. If I make a new sketch on this plane right here, well, the easier way would be go to wireframe. So go to View, wireframe again. Doing this all pretty fast. You can see that's way above there, okay? And that's because a loft basically uses one sketch and blends it to the next, and then when you go all the way over this one, it's going to basically bulge this part up and that part down. So it kind of blends as it goes along. Well, if you want it to follow what's called a trail or a path along here, there's a pretty easy way to do that. And you basically draw a line for them, okay? And I'll show you how to do, the first one's pretty easy, so I'll show you how to do one pretty easily, and then I'll show you how to do another one. So I haven't lofted this second loft yet. Sometimes, I've got two lofts in mind. I've got that front loft right there, okay? Let's go back out of and more of the shaded with edges. I've got that front loft right here, and I've got the second loft right here. So I went from the front all the way to here. Well, there's a major change going on in the windshield. It actually wouldn't even let me loft all the way through there because it was such a big change. Okay, but no, and you wouldn't want to do anyway because it would blend it so much it would just not look right. So I lofted to here and then I lofted to the second one. So I'm gonna delete that one to kind of. So I'm gonna do this. Yeah, I'm just gonna delete it. So whenever you delete something like that, make sure you don't have any of these things clicked. Otherwise, it's going to delete all those sketches you did too. Okay, so I deleted that one. And when you want to loft that, there's two ways to do it. You can share the sketch that was created with that one. Okay, so that would probably my sketch 9 or something. I can go over here, right click on it and say share. Or you can just use this face and do it. You don't necessarily have to have a sketch to loft to another loft. So I'm going to go loft. I'm just going to pick this face. And it's kind of hard to pick. You got to be right on the right. I had it, now I jumped off it. There it is. Okay, so I've got that and then this sketch. And then it lofts right to it. Okay, so that's two separate lofts. Okay, because there's a major change. And then you could fill it like a 2-inch fillet around this and kind of blend it in. Okay, on those little sharp edges. Okay, so that's another way to kind of hide that so you don't have a line where you did the double loft. Okay. Okay, the last one I wanted to show you is using a trail to get some of these things cleaned up. So watch what happens when I loft. Did I not do that one? I wanted to do that one. Okay, so I'm going to loft real quick again here. That one to this one. Okay. Now I'm going to loft from this one to my next sketch. And look what happens when I do that. I go loft. I do kind of the same thing. I could share the sketch, and that would do the same thing. Let's just do that so you see both ways. Because sharing sketches is handy. So these sketches are consumed in that other loft that I just did, okay? It's called loft 3 because I deleted loft 2. But whenever you use a sketch from them, they're consumed up. So there's the edges one at the very beginning, but this sketch is consumed in it too. So if I want to use that again, I've got to go over here and either, if share's not available, you got to make it visible, okay? One of the two. And it's not available, so I have to make it visible. I don't know if I want to look at it anyway, so I probably would be better off just picking that face like I did last time. But if you make it visible, you can reuse it. So loft, now I can pick it again. And I can pick this one, and it lofts to it. But look how crazy that gets. It's supposed to go along this bottom edge, but on this side, it's kind of, it's not real bad, but there's a lot of extra lines and stuff in there that aren't really going straight over there. And sometimes it'll go like this one here. It's actually going, see how it's going from up here by the windshield down to the bottom of the door sill. So there's a big drop there that's just going to look completely crazy. You know, one thing I might do is I delete half this car and mirror it to the other side so the good half stays on. But there's a better way, and that's to give it a path. Okay, I'm gonna cancel out of there and give this thing a path. And its path's pretty easy. You have to have. If you're doing a spline, you don't have to have a plane. It'd be a 3D. But if you're doing a regular straight line like I want on this one, I don't necessarily want to do a spline. I'll show you two ways. There's two. If you had 3 of them here, I could do a spline pretty easy. But since I've only got 2, a line would probably work better. So I need to create a straight line on this. I'm just going to go right into 3D sketch and do a 3D sketch line. So we haven't done anything in 3D sketches yet. They're basically the same as 2D sketches. If I wanted to do 2D sketch, I'd have to create a plane. So I have to pick 3 points. This point, and maybe a matching point over here. And that would give me a plane for that line. But I don't want to create a plane. So I'm going to try a 3D sketch. 3D sketch, and there's line. I pick that. I'm going to pick right on that point. If it doesn't snap to this point, which it did, you can always create a point in space, and I'll show you that next, to force it to kind of pick it, okay? So I drew a 3D line. Now, all the 3D line means is I didn't really have to go across the plane, okay? So now I've got a path for that. Now, like I said, if it wouldn't pick on that green arrow, I could have created a work feature called a point on that little coincident point right here, so the knot line would go to it. Now, if I loft from one to the other, and I use that as a path, that's a big deal. It's really going to clean it up. Okay, so you'll want to be doing that on some of yours to really make it nicer. So I go loft, and do the same thing as I did before. Pick this sketch here, and you can also pick it over here if it's easier, you know, in the browser. You don't have to pick it on the. Okay, and then over here, the second one down, I think is a center line, and then we've got a area loft. So I'm gonna pick a center line, okay, and then pick this line for my path, basically, okay. And then you can see there's a lot less lines going on in there. It's a lot cleaner. The door sill is actually down by the door sill. The roof line staying up by the roof line. And when it's done, it looks like it's supposed to. Okay. And the same thing you can do on this front. So my front, I showed you that earlier, that it was all messed up. So this one's a lot more tricky, but I'll show you how to do it. It only take about a minute or two here. So mine, if I go back over here to, a little bit trickier to do, but I'll show you how to do it. So I'm going to visual style, and I'm going to wireframe so I can see everything here. And I can't see any of my sketches, so I've got to go, I'm going to go over here to my first loft, which I created, okay, and all those sketches in here, and I'm going to make them all visual real quick here. And you can pick them all and do it. So I'm going to hold down the control key and pick them, and right click, turn visibility on, okay. I don't know if I got it. There we go. Okay, so now they're all visible. Well, on the Corvette, there's a line for each one of these where I drew my surfaces. So like this hood line here, I tried to stay with that because that's a pretty big curve in the area. So when I drew it on my views, I tried to line that line up. One of the coincident points was lined up with that, or pretty close. And either way, you can line them up. So if you've got a line that you can use, you can make a path along that. So let me see if I can show you that. That would be another 3D sketch. So 3D sketch, and this time I'm going to use a spline, but make sure you pick the spline that's got the interpolation there, so that it basically follows the points you pick and not uses the points to pull them along. All right, so I'm going to do this pretty quick, so we'll see if it works or not. But pick that one, and I'm going to pick along this line. So I looked at this earlier, and it looked. With a big old line here going on. Let's try again. So spline, pick right here from there. I'm gonna find my, there's one of the points because it turned green. There it is. So it's kind of following this line from the beginning here. And right there, okay. Try to turn this thing. It's really big, so it's not turning the best. But make sure it's not way off. And you got to enter to finish this spline, okay? So that should follow my hood a little bit better. Now I've got a lot of crazy radiuses on there, so my item's really big. Yeah, this follows it a little bit better. It's too low. I should have picked one up higher. So I should have picked this one up here. I don't know if I can still move it. Still in there, maybe I can. It's not blending the way I want it to. So let's try one more time. Splines, this is kind of the battle you fight here. So I go that one, to that one, to that one, to that one. Okay, so now I've got a nice even line there all the way across. Hopefully you can see it right here. Okay, so that's going to be my path. All right, now I'm just going to loft these three here, because drawing the line on the front was pretty difficult to go all the way to the beginning of that. And I don't know if it'll let me. We can try it. So since this sketch was done way after in history-wise as Loft 1, I have to move that up to so that it happens basically before the loft does, okay? So I'm going to basically drag it from right here. As long as it's using stuff, and I'm putting it before the loft, okay? Now I can't put it up above a sketch that these points were picked from. So like I used the sketch point off sketch 9. So I can't pull that above sketch 9 because which is used up in somewhere up here. but I can pull it above. Sketch line 9 was probably designed on one of these work planes. I don't see it in there, but somewhere up there. You can't move something from the future up in front of something that was used on it in the past. Hopefully you understand that, but basically you can only move it up so high, because it basically if you're using something that you haven't even done yet, it won't work. So you have to move that up too. All right, so just remember, this is like a history here. All right, so now I've got that line in there, and oh my goodness, I don't think I hit enter when I did it. So I'm going to go. So that was the other thing I was supposed to tell you. So when you hit the spline here, you got to enter to finish it, or else it won't stick. So I showed you that the hard way. I missed the sketch here. Okay. All right, so I've got that in there. Now you can use something like that to loft it as well. So I'm just going to show you a real quick loft here. Let me hide this one here. So I pressed that real quick just so I could show you. All right, so then you basically go to, I'll kind of clean it up a little bit, loft. And again, you just pick all your items like you did before. Okay, but I missed that front one. So you can see it's blowing around pretty bad. I picked that line to line it up with, and hopefully that cleans it up and doesn't make it. See how it didn't get near as tall and it matches it closer? Now, I still don't know if that's what I want, but at least it gives you a chance to make things line up a lot better because you give them a pat. So sometimes that's very helpful. All right, I think that's everything I wanted to show you. So keep adding all your sketches to get them done. And if you have any problems, let me know. All right, you can copy and paste sketches as well. So like this sketch on this plane, I want it to also be the same sketch right here. So I'm gonna find that sketch here. You can pick it, and then it shows up over there in my browser. Maybe you can see it was sketch 8. Okay, so I'm just gonna right click on that, pick copy. Okay, I created a new plane right here for there where I want it to be, and another one just like it. And I go new sketch, and just anywhere out here in space, I'm gonna right click, pick paste. As long as the X and Y are the same place, it should put it over there. Finish sketch. I can see there's an identical sketch across there. So I'm hoping that'll help me clean up my, without having to make a whole new one there in the middle. Now when I go to Loft, because my lines weren't working real good because they're so far across there. Also a little line there doing nothing. I'm getting rid of that. Sketch 7 looks like. Doing nothing there. Leave that out there. So now when I loft it, let's see if it's any better. That one, that one, that one, that one. Just have a pretty huge bump there in the bottom. Some of that will be taken care of by the wheel well, but I don't really like it. This side looks a little bit better. Again, you can try to use a line to kind of get rid of some of that. It seems to be tricky making those work too. Alright, this is a lot better though than it was. It's real close. It's not near as much over the top of it. Pretty close, at least on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to stick with that for now.